This week we're going to try to understand the vocabulary of art. All art must have at least two of the following elements. They are line, shape, form, space, color, value, and textures. Like I said, they have to have at least two of these elements to be considered art.
Line. A path traced by a moving point, a one-dimensional element measured only in length. Sometimes a line in a drawing can be symbolic, other times it's very defined. Lines are considered by length and the thickness and the direction. Outline and contour line defines a two-dimensional shape. Without this, you wouldn't know what you were looking at.
A shape is a two-dimensional form that occupies an area with an identifiable boundary. A picture of a cup, a ball, a block of wood, these are all considered shapes, but they're flat. A mass is a three-dimensional form that occupies a volume of space. The same cup, ball, block of wood can now be touched and turned.
Perspective. Where do you look when you look at this painting? Perspective is a way of getting depth into your drawings. Parallel lines appear to converge in the distance. So when you're drawing a 2D piece of paper, there are little tricks you can use to convey depth. Each comes into play here. Here you can see where you're meant to focus. You're supposed to focus on Jesus.
Here's just an example of the vanishing point again. As you can see, the man is the real focus in this painting, and then it all kind of goes back into a point behind him, where the horizon might be laid out behind him if this was an actual picture. It's several points in the 2D image where the parallel lines, they all converge into that one location. Somewhere along the way between the psychology lab and the art texts, the rule developed that the eye can only discriminate no more than 9 distinct gradations in lightness from light to dark. Of course, we can see a much larger number of value differences than that. Here are just 3 shading techniques that you can see at the bottom. The stippling is like where they take the dot of a pen and they kind of tap it, and so you get little dots. It's kind of like the Monet that we looked at, where they take dots. Hatching is more like the little, you can take pencil or pen and just kind of like scratch it. Can you see that? And then the cross hatching at the bottom, they go over it going both directions, and they don't have one form, they go different directions. And these are different ways of making different grades of light. At the top of the screen you can see this is an actual gradation of the light, from dark to light, that you might see if you're trying to decide, different shading techniques, where in that spectrum it would be. But this shows you the different light elements as you're looking at a painting, or if you were actually creating a painting.
Next we look at color. This is a traditional color wheel. Primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. Everything else in the wheel comes from them. They make a triangle on the wheel. The secondary colors are orange, green, and purple. They make an upside down triangle on the wheel. Each color's opposite is directly below, such as red and green, orange and blue, and yellow and purple. The hue is the name of the color, the value is the range of light, and the saturation is the intensity. What you're looking at the bottom of the screen is a color chart often used by printers. When you decide you want to print a flyer or some other certain color, you would pull this out and then assign a value and a saturation to a certain hue. Notice how they still run in the form of a color wheel, but as they go out from the black in the center, they become lighter, thus decreasing their value. Here's an example of bold colors and high saturation. How does this painting affect you emotionally? What do you think was the emotion of the painter when he painted it? A good use of color can speak volumes and affect you emotionally while also revealing something about the artist. Here's a good example. Look at the subdued colors of Van Gogh's wheat field. When he painted this, he was in the hospital. Notice the depressing colors in the wall that separates him from the beauty and the colors beyond the wall. Everything on his side is bland, not to mention laboring and difficult. Now let's look at him a little later in life.
Notice the chaos in this painting. The colors are much darker and sporadic. The horizon is out of view and the paths are unclear. This was a painting towards the end of his life before Van Gogh took his own life. You can see the intense emotion he must have felt in the colors and in the strokes. You also might notice that the paths, as they go out into the horizon, they're unclear and unmarked. It just definitely shows how somebody's emotions can affect their paintings, both in color and the way that they actually put the strokes and the lines on the painting.
Colors and lines and light are all different techniques that the artist will use to convey their image, their emotion, and their story. I hope you'll begin to grasp the various vocabularies and begin to apply it to your writing. Have a wonderful week. God bless.